Good evening and welcome to Let's Talk Shop with Russ. We're back again on a Saturday night, 8 p.m. and ready for a fantastic show. We have Tim Sway with us tonight. And Tim, I know I didn't get a chance to tell you this before the show, but I'll introduce you last because we normally go through, well, and he's gone. So I ain't got to tell him that.
Just dropped it.
I didn't do anything, I promise.
Oh, there he is.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah. I'll introduce you last because you're the guest and after I introduce the panel.
Okay.
So anyway, but welcome. I see we have a lively audience out there. John Wills, Paul Granger, Chris Neeland, Michelle Marcoux. All of them are all out in the chat already. Wow, we already got 20 thumbs up and 35 people watching. Wow, and it just started, so that's pretty good. Anyway, trying to think real quick because I've had a real rough day today is the only way to explain it. And I would like to say this much. And normally I don't do this, and y'all know, I mean, I ask for money from time to time to help people out and everything, but this was kind of close to home. So I'm just going to put this out there, and that is my niece. If y'all could mute yourselves. I don't know if y'all, but my niece has stage 4 lung cancer, and her name's Lona Cumby. I have posted it on my Facebook page, and she's not doing very well. I will tell you that. I spent the day with her today, and she could really use your help financially. Anybody that's capable of giving anything. She owns a home. She's trying to stay there, and so has very modest bills. But right now, until her Social Security disability benefit kicks in and the Medicaid kicks in, she can't even get any kind of a treatments or anything. She's having to every 3 days get pain medication to deal with some of the pain she's in. She has to go back to the ER because she has no insurance, and ER will only give her 3 days worth of pain medication. The reason being is because there's a lot of junkies out there to go to ER to get days upon days of pain medication. So it's a real bad situation. So if, like I said, I've posted it. It's on my Facebook page, Russ Clarity, if everybody knows. She's just trying to make her bills long enough to get through to where her disability, Social Security, and Medicaid kicks in. So I'd appreciate it. I'm not going to sit here and beg, but in the same aspect, if you can do anything, I'd appreciate it. Before I go anywhere else, let me talk about my great sponsors, and they are Devobal Technologies for web design, development, and hosting. Visit devobal.com. FastCap, innovative products for the professional woodworker. Go to fastcap.com. Rockler, 60 years in woodworking. Create with confidence. Visit rockler.com. Bearwood Supply Company, your best choice for hard-to-find woodworking supplies. Go to bearwood.com. Klingspor, the sanding specialist, woodworkingshop.com, and Seiko, the scroll saw specialist, Seiko.com. And if you're out there, I will be at Rockler, potato, on the 23rd of February. And matter of fact, we might not have a show on the 23rd of February because we're doing an extended thing there. I'm doing a class in the afternoon, and we're also having demos all day long. So we might not have even a show on Saturday, the 23rd of February. So that will be up in the air, which I'll let you know as we get closer down the road to that. So I know James Parker's always asking me, when you going back to a Rockler so I can come and visit you up there. So just letting you know. And then James, if you are not in the chat tonight and don't hear this because his wife has been sick too, I'll PM you that information here in the next day or two. So anyway, we got Tim Sway, but let's go ahead and go down the panel and let everybody introduce yourself and tell you who they are. And let's start off with Brenda, if you don't mind.
Thanks, Russ. I'm Brenda G. Brenda G's Designs. You'll find me all over the internet. Brenda G's Designs on YouTube, on Twitch, on Twitter, on Facebook. And I'm an eclectic crafter. You'll see all kinds of crafts, and you'll also see some comedy and a lot of different things on my channel if you go to me on YouTube.
Great. Chris.
Hey gang, Chris here at the Old Cranky Workshop. You find me on YouTube and Facebook. And right now this winter, you'll find me in the house because it's far too cold out in the shop. So we'll get back out there once Mother Nature gives up and gives us the spring back. So, and we got some projects coming up, so we'll get some things on YouTube soon.
Just out of curiosity, what have been the temps like without normal temperature and with wind chill lately around your house?
Single digits, below zero with the wind chill. So
yeah,
it's been pretty brutal. But we're getting a break this week. Supposedly it's going to sneak up to 50 degrees.
Yeah, and if you watch the news today, what's his name, Punxsutawney, whatever, Phil, he said it was going to be a spring's right around the corner. So,
well, truck day is in about 2 weeks. Pitchers and catchers about 3 weeks. So spring is here. So
yep, cool. All right, Jim.
Hey, Jim Bashirs from Driveway Workshop. I'm really happy to be here because I want to never talk to Tim online or in person or whatever, but this will be a really good show. I got a square. I've been trying to find things to do with it, other than just have it in the drawer. Hang on, I got something in my tooth. Yeah, but it makes a great tool, so you can do anything you want with it. I highly suggest getting one.
I've been thinking about it in all sincerity about getting one. I've seen them out there, but I'm waiting for him to just send me one.
I'll tell you what. But maybe we can make me a sponsor. The Square can sponsor your show. We'll get you up on the screen.
Oh hell yeah!
All right, we'll talk.
Sure. Katie Dotson, you're muted, Katie.
I know.
Oh, there you go.
There I am. My name is Katie. I'm just on Facebook. I have a YouTube channel where I never do anything, and I'm primarily just a public nuisance.
That's it? You're just primarily a public nuisance?
That's pretty much it.
Well, you know what? We still love you. Well,
I don't know why.
I can't speak for the rest of the panel, but I know
that's right. You can't speak for the rest of them.
I know I do love you. Yeah, some of these people on here are kind of shady, so I'd be careful with them.
I know. I don't trust any of them.
Yeah. So, all right.
Especially that Mooney guy.
Yeah, that guy's got to be careful about him. And speaking of which is Ken Moon.
Hey, it's Ken Moon from Moon Pie Creations. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, Moon Pie Creations, or Ken Moon, Instagram, and a few other things.
Good to have you with us. Al Forte.
Odessa Woodworking and Kilroy 79763. Al Forte here. Great to be here. Can't wait to hear what Tim's got to say. Anyway, next,
Paul.
Here, I was all set to go first. I had my finger on the button and everything, but you let me down. Paul Corliss, Paul's Messy Workshop. I'm between projects, so it might be Paul's Semi-Messy Workshop. I don't know. You can find me on YouTube, Paul's Messy Workshop, or on Instagram at Paul's Messy Workshop. And thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. Now, I've been trying to get this guy
for about 2 years, I think.
Yeah, for quite some time. And so he finally came around and felt sorry for me because I kept on begging for him to be on the show. But that is Mr. Tim Sway. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing? It's just Saturdays are tough for me. I apologize for being so hard to pin down. But usually by this time, like it's just family time, or I'm like just on the couch down for the count after after the week, you know. But
I totally
I'm glad we made it.
Understand that.
Yeah. So I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me back. And I have been on your show before, but it's been years.
Has it? I don't ever remember.
Pretty sure. Oh, well, I was on a show with you at least. I don't know. Maybe you were on another show. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I think we were on another show. I think it was back when Brian Gidney was doing shows.
It was either him. Yeah, it was either him or it might have been. I think Izzy ran a few.
Maritime.
Oh, Makers? Yeah, the Maritime Show. That's what it was. This is the Maritime Show.
Yeah, okay. Might have been the Maritime Makers. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good. Right. So how's it going?
It's going good. I'm with Chris with the weather here. You know, it's been a little chilly, but supposedly we're gonna see a break. So
Yeah. Now, once again, what's the temperatures been like with you, with and without the wind chill?
same as Chris for the most part. It's, you know, when you like the phone, you look at your phone in the morning and it says it's 0 out, like literally without the wind, just 0 out. It's really hard to get motivated to go heat up your shop. But I do this for a living. And I also think about all the stuff that's in my shop that is going to freeze if I take the day off. So
Right.
I have to go fire up the wood burning stove, and you go in and it's like 30 degrees in there, and you know, putting the hot glue, putting the wood glue and all the epoxies. I put them in a pot of water on top of the wood burning stove so I can bring them back to life and use them. It's like barely a step ahead of the cavemen right now, you know.
Yeah. You have actually, yeah. I know you're kind of like a green guy.
Yeah.
You try to leave as small as a footprint as you can
Yeah.
on the planet. What got you into that?
Interestingly, it was woodworking in a weird way. Sort of came first. You know, I guess I've always just been sort of thrifty. There's like they kind of say like you know, like the old Yankee kind of attitude about like saving everything and not throwing stuff out because I'm a cheapskate, right? And then I was a musician for a long time, and you know, still am to some extent, but I did that for like a living, which meant I was just broke, just always broke. You know, I never had money, and so just being thrifty was essential for survival. But at one point in time in the 90s, I was renting like this little 200 square foot mother-in-law apartment from this cabinet maker. And he had this full, you know, the typical 2-car garage wood shop, you know, the standard kind of issue setup. And I thought it was cool. I'd never seen anything like it. And I told him, I was like, I want to make my own guitar. I've always wanted to make my own guitar. And he says, "You're nuts." He said, "That's too hard. You can't make a guitar." He's like, "That's just too much work." So I'm like, all right, I guess, you know what, he knows. He's just one of those guys, you know. So like 2 weeks later, I'm walking by a shop and I see a guitar shape cut out on his bench. I'm like, "Well, what the hell are you doing?" And he said, I started thinking about it. He's like, "I think I can make a guitar," because he had some basic woodworking skills and he knew how to play. And so we started making guitars. And that was my first introduction to the wood shop. And in that process, we were buying mahogany and ipe and cocobolo and all these like really expensive exotic woods. And I would be just sort of working with them and sanding them and thinking about where they came from, and also spending this very little money that I had to buy these blocks of wood. And that was where I started kind of thinking about, there's got to be another way, you know? Right. And so it really, short stories, I'm a cheapskate.
Well, when you're talking about now saving stuff, I have to admit that, you know, I'm on kind of like the verge of a hoarder.
Yeah.
You know, in some ways, I really am. I've got 3 or 4 different scrap bins around in my shop in various places, and they each have different sizes of scraps. I've got them sorted, so to speak.
Good.
And when they get full, I'm like, I got to get rid of some of this. I mean, I just can't keep on going with this. So, you know, it's very hard to give it up, because you see that one little piece of wood that's 4 inches by 6 inches, and you go like, there are so many things I could make out of that.
Yeah, especially when you start talking about like turning pens. Like, there's no such thing as scrap wood if you turn pens, you know?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Just today, I go into my shop. It's 30 degrees this morning, and I'm starting the fire. And I have, this time of year, I'm a little more, I'm a little quicker to throw stuff into the burn pit, you know? And, but, you know, because I heat my shop on, you know, local, you know, trees cut down and stuff, as well as, you know, scrap wood. And I pulled out this chunk of ash, and it was from a cabinet that I made. It was a live edge. I had to square it all up, or not a cabinet, a table, and you know, just a chunk about 2 inches thick by 4 inches by 6 inches. And I'm grabbing that to throw it in. It's freezing. I got my gloves and my hat on, and I'm like, wait a minute. I stop, and I had to ponder it, you know, for a good 30 seconds before I'm like, do I need to heat the shop today? I could make a lot of stuff. You know, I hear you.
Yeah. That's pretty well, you know, and that's the way I am. I do the glass jars, like pickle jars and stuff like that. I save them a lot because, especially the smaller jars, which are really hard to find with a nice lid on them. My little thing is about those is, you know, when you spray a spray can, how the nozzle kind of like starts getting gumped up.
Yep.
Well, I take them off and I put them in that jar and with some mineral spirits and let them soak for a few days, and then it loosens them all up. You can put them back on the spray can and use them again. So
yeah,
my wife is going, she has gotten so used to me that before she throws a jar out, she'll look at me and she's, you have enough jars in the shop, or do you need this one?
my latest one, or one of my favorite ones, is these yogurt containers. I hate yogurt. I think it's disgusting, but my family eats it. And there's these, like, I don't know if they're like quarts or whatever, and they perfectly fit the 4-inch dust collection hose. So you can, so like as a coupler, it's like a Morris taper, right? So I have these, but the downside is that they're thin, crappy plastic, so they do break a lot. So I have all of my tools have these stupid yogurt containers stuck on them, so I can just slide the hose onto them. And then, but then they crack especially when it gets cold and stuff. They crack, so then you have to recycle it and then put a new one on.
Cool. Anybody on the panel got any questions? And they all stand. And Jim Bashir's was, I've been wanting to talk to you. And
well, I have, but I mean, let's.
I talk to you all the time, Jim, but just never in person.
I know that's the thing. One I saw kind of here in the chat though, Russ, that John Schaffner's in the hospital, so not sure what happened with him, but
he's been in the hospital.
He's out in the chat right now.
Oh, he is?
Yes, sir, he is.
Oh, well, John, John, just to let you know, I haven't gotten back with you. My niece has been kind of sick, so I've been over there with her. But my thoughts and prayers are with you, buddy. John has been in the hospital, and I asked him the other day if I could talk about this. So, Tim, just give me a second. He has CHF, and he has some breathing problems. Well, he was. They were worried about him with pneumonia. And I think he has a touch of pneumonia, so they're keeping him in the hospital. He was actually in ICU, got put back into regular room, but now I think last time I talked to him, they transferred him back to ICU because of his breathing problems. So, but John, good to pneumonia with no damn lung, tough breathing. Yeah, he's only got partial lungs, so yeah, so he's out there in the chat. So good to I'm glad you're out there, my friend, and still plugging away. So, but yeah, that's what's up with John. He's been in the hospital. So keep him in your thoughts and prayers if you don't mind. I would appreciate that. So,
and prayers. He's pretty dedicated. He's in ICU right now.
Yeah, he's in ICU.
He's on the show.
Yeah, and he's on the show. He's out in the chat. That's how dedicated he is.
Dedication.
I got some dedicated people. So
get better.
Yeah, I'm hoping you get better. I'll say it right in a second. All right, so Jim, what was you saying? You can go ahead.
I did have a question though, Tim. What made you start getting into cutting your own guitar necks? I mean, to something like that, to me, I'd be afraid I'd constantly screw it up. I wouldn't even want to try it.
I'm stubborn. I'm like really stubborn, and so I mean, it's definitely easier to just buy one, but I think all of us kind of know that everything that we do is pretty much easier to just buy, right? So it's kind of the same for me. That just happens to be where my interest is, and so I like making guitars. And when I was first making guitars with that cabinet maker 25 years ago, we made our own necks. We never even thought about, well, back then it wasn't like the internet wasn't like it is now. You couldn't just go buy a neck for $30. There were several $100s from these like high-end places, and all the parts, everything was so expensive. And so we made as much of it as we could. And that's just, I don't know. That's just me. Dave Gagne, I don't know if you guys know him. He made a button for me. It's on my hat. It says, the path of most resistance, timsway.net.
Yeah. I've seen that on your hat whenever you showed it. Now, I got a question for you. When you make these necks, naturally, some woods have got to be better than others.
Yeah, and a big part of what I do is I like to push the envelope, and try to find, get it with as like locally sourced or as inexpensive or whatever as possible. And I've made necks out of like Doug fir and pine, and they weren't very good. They just didn't really hold up. And the biggest problem with using the softwoods is just getting good joints.
Right.
They wear down. But I've, the guitar bodies, I've made them out of, and still continue to make them out of all sorts of crap.
Well, did I see a Kumaru guitar?
Yeah, well, I had gotten a lot of mine, or almost all of my necks are Kumaru right now, and a lot of my guitars are because one of my rich customers tore out this like 1,200 square foot Kumaru deck and put in Trex And she was like, "Do you want it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be right down." It was like an hour drive. Like in normal conditions, it was an hour drive. But I'm driving
a heavy guitar though.
Well, but I made them really thin, so they're
Okay.
not bad. So it's like kind of works out. But the drive was like it was like an hour away in Connecticut, which is the highways are always clogged. And I drive a 40-something-year-old pickup truck, and I loaded my truck up with this stuff, and it was so heavy that I thought it was fine because I was like, I got my big truck. I had the ladder rack. Some of these boards are like 20 feet long, and I had them on my short bed truck on a ladder rack because I didn't want to cut them. And I didn't know what I was going to use them for yet. And so I go and I'm like driving really slowly to the highway. I'm like, all right, this is fine. I'm going to be fine. I get on the highway, I hit my first bump, and I like do a wheelie,
Oh my gosh.
in my 47-year-old pickup truck. And I'm like, all right, this ain't going to fly. So I'm like, I'll just back road home. So every road in Connecticut, is like this. And so I'm like, I'm going to back road home. I'm doing it. And finally I get about like another, 20 miles down the road. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. It's going to take me 2 days to get home. So I pass a local hardware store, and I go into the hardware store, the mom and pop Ace store, and I introduce myself, and I say to him what I do. I'm like, I'm a reclaimer. I do this, that, the other thing. I'm like, do you have any customers like that? And the guy's like, oh yeah, it's this guy, Larry, I forget his name. He comes in and he's like you, he does that. I'm like, I'll tell you what, you let me borrow a handsaw. I'm going to cut half those boards in half, and I'm going to leave them here for Larry. Is that cool? And he's like, yeah, you can come back and get him. I'm like, no, I'm never coming back for him. But just tell Larry that he has to make something cool out of him. So I left probably like about $1,000 worth of Kumaru behind this guy's hardware store in exchange for a saw.
Wow.
Made his day.
A lot of people are asking, I don't know if this is possible, that you could actually show a few of the guitars that you have made. Are they close enough for you to get a hold of them?
I want it bumped up a notch. I'd like to see him play one.
Oh yeah.
Maybe. Hang on.
Maybe. All right. He didn't say no. He didn't say no.
Well, I already got something I'm going to hit him up on.
Look, guys, look, Tim is not just guitars, okay?
Oh, I know he's not.
I know.
He turned a bowl on a CNC, for God's sake.
Sweet. Yes.
So this is one of those Kumaru ones. You can see it's only an inch thick. That's the thickness of the deck, right? I just skimmed it through the planer. You can see it's 3 boards. There's where I drilled a hole through it because it's only an inch thick.
Right.
and so the neck is all Kumaru as well. This one's a bolt-on neck. And I also have to do stuff like this. I have to do these sort of half laps when I made them really thin to get the joint, because there just wasn't a lot of material to work with. They're not all this thin, but I was on this kick for a while. So yeah, this is one of them.
Tim, have you ever laminated a neck and put like 2 light pieces with a dark piece in the middle?
Yeah, I don't have one here. I've done that. Like the idea with this is I'm trying to do it as simply as possible because I want to keep the costs down. So this Kumaru, I'm doing like a flat grain, which isn't the best way, but I have done them where I've laminated them together and sort of turn the wood sideways. They're a little stronger that way, but it's more labor, and that means more cost. And I want to sell all these things for like the whole goal is to make them all under $1,000. Like it's like anybody can have a handmade instrument is the idea. Like it's eco-friendly, it's locally made, it plays just as good as a guitar you spend $1,000 on in a store or less, and you can have it without supporting the industry and without supporting, without giving your money to a big business. You give it to me instead.
Right. No, I mean, I agree, but the thing about it is, it's when you say handmade, it is specially handmade because, with things like that, or when you buy it from somebody like you who puts so much time and effort into doing some of the things you do, it's actually special.
It has a story. I mean, like that guitar right there was part of the truck story I just told. And I didn't even tell you the whole part of the story that after I get through this and I actually get home 17 hours later or whatever, and the next day I'm driving my truck to work and it's not running right. So I take it to my shop and I'd broken a shock in the process.
But it was worth it, Tim.
Oh, absolutely.
It was worth it.
But I mean, but it's because to me, money comes and goes, shocks come and go, but like, life is just the stories that you collect. And that's a great story.
Oh yeah.
I'd do it again.
Yeah. Dave Hart wants to know, Tim, have you ever made a left-handed guitar?
I have made a left-handed guitar and I've made a left-handed bass, both for customers. I'm actually left-handed, but when I was a little kid and I took guitar lessons for a few months from this teacher, I picked up the guitar like a lefty would, and she didn't know I was left-handed. She goes, "No, you hold it like this." So I said, "Okay." And so I played guitar right-handed ever since, but everything else I do in life is left-handed. And so I understand the need for quality left-handed products of across the board, not just guitars, and I have made them.
Right.
And I can make one for you.
We got another question out here from Paul John's life is no hollow core door necks. He's surprised. I am too. I mean, with all the stuff that you can do, I'm surprised you haven't pulled that
I
off.
think he's made a base out of a hollow core door, because I just watched a movie and a film with
But not a neck.
without with a actually MDF.
Oh yeah, I did the MDF one. I did the solid core door as well. And Paul, I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm working on it. I have a plan to make, and I will say I haven't said this out loud anywhere because I've been keeping it a secret because I don't know if it's going to work or not. And I don't like to tell people if I have a failure and it doesn't work. But I've made all the files. I just haven't cut them yet. It's a laser project, and I'm going to make an acoustic guitar 100% out of solid or hollow core doors. So I figured out how to kerf the wood so I can bend the curved sides. I'm gonna make all the bracing on the inside out of the doors, the top, the bottom, and then the neck is gonna be all thin strips of the door stacked together, and then carve the neck out of it. So I'm going to do it.
That's cool.
There you go, Paul. That was a good question.
There you go. Yeah, that is actually
exclusive.
First.
Right, and when it doesn't happen because it didn't work, which is highly likely, the proof is here that I tried.
And saying that, Jeff Robinson wants to know: have you made any acoustic guitars?
Back of the 20 million years ago, I made an acoustic bass that didn't turn out very good, and I had no idea what I was doing back then. Since then, I've made several semi-hollows, but I haven't made a true acoustic guitar yet. So I did make a ukulele, which is like acoustic, but I haven't done a true acoustic guitar yet. So my first attempt at making a true real acoustic guitar is going to be with hollow core doors.
Right.
Jay was asking if you've ever made a cigar box guitar.
I actually haven't. I've made a bunch of stringed instruments. Usually if I want to do something simple, like simpler than a regular guitar, I just make a bass because it's like 4 strings, and that's what I played. So I tend to just go up to the 4th string, and I'll make some kind of bass instrument. And I've made, like I said, like ukuleles and stuff, but I've never made like a proper cigar box guitar. I have one that Bill Lutz made. You guys know Bill.
Yeah.
He made me one. It's really cool, and it got me interested. And someday I'm going to try one, but I want to find my spin on it. You know, I don't know what.
What's the Lutz?
Exactly.
You know how much I resisted saying that.
Yeah, what's the
Yeah, me too.
And I'm the one that started that.
So the natural progression was from into woodworking was you used to play in a band or play around, and then you met a cabinet maker and you started down the path. And that path has naturally led you to where you are today, correct?
Yeah, in a weird way, because I ended up, it was an apartment, a rental. I moved out, and then I never had a workshop again, like until, I had a house and I was married and stuff, and so it never really. There was like a long period between, like 10 years, that I just didn't even really think about it. But every time I was just one of those people. I was like, I'd see something and be like, I want to make that. I want to do that, and I just very slowly, as the process of owning homes, and I'd buy a skill saw or a jigsaw or whatever, I started to sort of have these tools. So then as I was playing music, I was home during the day, and then once I kind of had a couple tools, I started making stuff and putting it on Etsy, and I still didn't think about making guitars. I didn't think I could without this full shop and without this guy's knowledge that had helped me. So I just kept, I was like making like, wine bottle holders and stuff like that, and Etsy type stuff. And I was using all reclaimed because it was cheap or free. And it was like a little hobby. And then that hobby just sort of, I started enjoying it and getting a little bit better at it and enjoying it more and being more interested in doing that than playing music. And so then that, plus the fact that I started to get too old, that the audience looked more like my kids than me. When I was playing music, I was like, oh, I don't want to be that guy. So I was like, I need to find some other way to make a living. And I'm going to time out of this music thing. Like, I don't want to be driving home at 3 a.m. anymore, Oh, and,
yeah.
It wears on you, and
it does when you, as you begin to get older and you play that little crowd scene or whatever, like you're talking, just hang around in bars or whatever. As you begin to get older, you finally realize, like, wow, this ain't fun anymore.
No, it's just, I did a gig. I had 2 gigs in one night because that was the typical way. I mean, to make a living, it's like all $100 at a time, and I had this one night I had 2 gigs and I was running around. My son was 3 months old maybe at the time. And one of the gigs was like a 10-year reunion gig from some bands that I was in for a while. I'm like, oh my God, it's been 10 years. So that makes you feel old right there, So I do my first gig. It's like a shirt and tie gig. And then, I was rushing from home with the baby, and I rushed to this gig with a shirt and tie. Then I get to the next gig that's across town, and I rush in there, and I'm like getting ready to go on for that. Now this is like a rock band gig, so I want to take the shirt and tie off. And so I take the shirt off, take the tie off, and I'm wearing just a plain white T-shirt underneath. And the drummer, he walks up to me and he goes, and he pulls off my shirt a Cheerio that had been stuck to me the entire day.
That's funny.
That was when I was starting to kind of realize, like, maybe I don't belong here anymore.
Nobody told you all day long, right? You had that.
Well, it was underneath the shirt and tie, so no one saw it. And then
There you go.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Can we shift gears here a little bit?
Sure.
You want to talk about Cheerios?
Yeah. Well, can you cut Cheerios on your laser? I want to know about your laser. How has it been? Something that you've used in your shop, and what have you been doing with it, and that kind of thing.
And was it worth the money that you paid for it, or did it get given?
It was more than worth what he paid for it, right?
Yeah, so it definitely. It was. So I didn't pay for it. I worked. I'm still working. I'm still earning it. And I had gotten a CNC a few years ago, and I got really heavily into that. And that was never what I had. I was one of those guys that was like, if it's made by a CNC, it's not real woodworking. I said that. There's like video of me saying that, and now I'm like in love with the CNC and the technology. I wanted to learn it to teach my son because I didn't want to teach him like antiquated making technology. I figured I had to stay current to make him current because he's really into the wood shop too. And he loves hand tools more than the CNC, but I didn't want him to be irrelevant. So I was like, let me learn this so I can teach it to him. Then I got hooked, and now he's like, come on, Dad, let's go use hand tools instead. I'm like, wait, but the CNC can do it.
Yeah.
But and then I wanted to get into the laser, and so I just started writing to laser companies, and I don't know how many I wrote to, just trying to see if I could work out some kind of thing to get a deal with them to do sponsored content and to get a laser. And so I ended up finding this company, Thunder Laser, and they're in China. They have 1 sales rep in the U.S., 2 if you count me, and they have a staff of about 40 people, and they're just all laser nerds. It's not like the image of made in China that a lot of us have. It's just like a small business in China. That's where they are. And so because they're in China, they're in the region where all the giant factories are that make all the parts. So they're just making, like, if you were to start a laser company in America, you'd order your laser tubes from China, you'd order your metal box, you'd order your stepper motors that all come from China, and you'd assemble them here and sell them like all the laser companies. But they're just doing it there. So they've actually developed relationships.
Yeah, they got it cut short on shipping because they just walk down the road and get the parts.
Exactly, and they're friends. They like literally speak the same language as all these guys, so they cherry pick it. And so they're making these machines. They're not the cheap ones that you can get on eBay, and they're not the super expensive ones that say made in America. They're somewhere in between. And I found with almost every tool you buy, the one in the middle is the best one, the best deal.
Yeah.
The cheap one lets you down. The expensive one has a bunch of crap you don't need. And so that was kind of the target of the people the laser companies I was writing to, and I found them, and they were just willing to take a chance on it. And it's been a tremendous experience for all of us. It's just like I was looking for this little desktop thing, and they ended up sending me this monster. I had to rearrange my shop for it. Still have to rearrange around it. I'm so glad I have it, though. I'm not complaining, you know what I mean, at all. But it's been a great learning experience for the technology and for the communication and opening my mind a little bit about working with companies overseas and not being, and just about not taking everything at face value. And I've developed a friendship with the sales rep Amy in China. I write to her like once a week. We're like friends basically, and she sold lasers. Like there's people that have bought lasers because they have learned about their company and said, oh, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And because they saw them on my videos. So it's been great.
Cool. And what's the name of the company again?
Thunder Laser. Yeah. And
well,
so
I want to get that information from you so I can put it down below because I'm interested in getting a laser myself. So
yeah, I can give you. Well, his name is Clay. If you look, they have thunderlaser.com and they have thunderlaserusa.com. If you go to thunderlaserusa.com, there'll be a contact, and the guy's name is Clay, and he's in Texas. He has a laser business. He was basically a guy that was buying lasers from them, and he loved them so much, and he was like, they're like, why don't you sell them for us? So I started a website for him, and he's like the sales rep.
Cool.
Super nice guy. He'll take care of you.
Cool.
Tim, how many watt laser is it?
Mine is the Nova 35. It's a 35 by 23 inch cutting area, just shy of 2x3, and it is stock. It comes with an 80 watt laser, but mine has a 100 watt laser in it. There's actually a little extension box that sticks off the back, so it can cut 1/2 inch.
Wow.
Wow.
Easily. Yeah. I mean, 1/2 inch plywood is like a little messy because it's dense, but like I've been cutting all the cedar, like the cedar fence posts or slats, rather.
Yeah.
They're, like 5/8 inch thick. Cuts through that like butter.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I saw where Wes Swain bought one of those K40 lasers.
Yeah.
And he had, as of like 3 weeks ago, he had just started posting YouTube videos on it. So I was going to kind of watch him, progress through it and see what he thought of it. But the other one, the one that you've got, was like the second one on the list to look at.
Well, they make one that's, I think it's an 18 by 24 cutting area, and it's a 40 watt, but I think they have upgrades for it as well. And it's a lot more expensive than the ones like that you can get on eBay for $500. I don't know what, but it's an industrial machine. It's like a small industrial, and that was what I was like. I didn't want to get like a Glowforge. Kind of seems more like something you'd have like in your living room, and I wanted something that was going to survive like my workshop.
Yeah.
Question real quick.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, just so you had a CNC prior to the laser, correct?
Yes.
So you had learned how to use a CNC. So were you able to take the knowledge of the CNC and how to operate it, how to design and stuff with the CNC, and be able to incorporate it right over into the laser without too much of a problem?
Yeah, it made it real easy to learn the language. Do you use a CNC at all?
Oh yeah, I have one. Yes.
Yeah. So it's like all about vectors and lines, and like I didn't even know what a vector was. I mean, I'd heard the word. I didn't know the difference between a vector and a picture until like 3 or 4 years ago.
Had you not had the CNC and just got the laser, you'd been kind of lost there for a little bit.
Right. I would have had to have gone through all that learning. I mean, right. I think it might make more sense for people to actually start with the laser and then work to CNC because it's 2D. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a little, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, anyway, once you learn that tech, I imagine I haven't done any 3D printing. I really have no interest in it because I'm just not in the plastic. But
it's real similar to. I mean,
exactly.
And the same thing with embroidery. You drop those in there too, and
that's what I figure. It's like once you learn that language, and I got hooked on it. I saw the potential for it was especially with like the guitars, like. I mean, I can make a guitar by hand probably faster than the CNC, but like cutting the body out and routing the holes, like I can have a template and do that faster because when you're hand running a router, you can adjust speeds and stuff. But I can't do something else while I'm doing that.
Yeah,
and that's where I got really into it. It's like, I was like, I have an army now.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Is you have to realize the CNC is valuable. I agree. But in the same aspect, if you just stand around and watch it all day long in your shop, and that's all you do, you're wasting your time. You want the CNC to be cutting something while you're over there You want let the CNC cut the body of the guitar while you're over there doing the neck and all the other kind of stuff for it, so it makes it twice as fast.
Exactly. And then you get a file that you like. It's like, well, I'm going to run it 6 times. You know? And then the other thing I'm like. If you start getting the tool changing and stuff, like I had to change all the tools in mine because it's just a router. But then when I was just at the woodworking show recently, they had one that was the same size as mine, and it had up to 8 tools it would take. Like,
those are awesome.
I was just like, oh, God, you're kidding me. I was like, I need more robots.
Yeah.
On a carousel, or were they just kind of in a cartridge?
It's just a rack on the front of the machine, and it would just go and just pick them up. And it's like, I don't even know. It's magic. I think it works off magic.
Yeah.
Tim, do you find that if you get materials and you put like cheap materials in the laser or whatever, they may have impurities in them that will reflect the laser back, in weird angles and do things, or can you just pretty much throw anything in there and cut it and not have to worry about it?
I learned from the guy that laser cuts my squares that you have to be very careful.
Pure.
Right, you have to be very careful of the laser reflecting back into itself, because it will actually end the universe. The universe will implode. on
Yeah,
an
you
S05.
cross the streams. When you
You
cross the streams,
yeah,
everything gets bad.
yeah,
Unless you're
exactly.
shooting at the
The marshmallow,
marshmallow guy. Yeah.
But so I haven't. Yeah, I mean, mine doesn't cut metal, right? It's for wood and plastic, and I guess there's a chance of it hitting a nail or something. But I haven't had that problem yet, and I haven't. Not too worried about it yet. You know, I haven't gotten too crazy with what I've stuck in there. I mean, I stick like a lot of stuff that you're not supposed to, of course.
Aussie man wants to know: do they cut metal or just wood? And I'll let you answer that, Tim.
Yeah, they. Mine only cuts wood and plastic. You can etch metal, I guess.
Yes.
But I think it's just to protect itself. It just doesn't allow it to cut metal. What I was thinking would be fun to do, and I haven't tried it yet, is to do where you mask it and then do really intricate engravings to burn the masking tape off the metal, and then etch it like with salt water and electricity, whatever that process is called.
Yeah.
To do that engraving, I thought that'd be kind of fun to try with it someday.
I think, and that's the way I think it is. Most of the lasers won't actually cut metal. Now they have them that will cut metal. But,
well, the ones that make my square, like the things like it's $300,000. It's just giant.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but they will etch metal like you're talking about. Like if you had a piece of metal and wanted to and etch the name of somebody into it, it can do that or whatever. But yeah, these have limitations. They're only like 40, 80, 100 watts. They're not like
yeah. I mean, 100 watts is a lot of laser, but it's not. Yeah, it's not gonna.
Yeah.
It's not gonna cut steel.
Tim, would they etch glass or acrylic?
I cut acrylic all the time, and I've etched acrylic. So yes, and I just was recently talking to a guy that was talking about etching glass, and I haven't tried that yet. And he was like, "Oh yeah, it works great." And then you can also get, like, I saw Russ, you were drinking out of that mug there. That's done on the laser, and that's our buddy Mancrafting. I can't remember his real name right now. Chad.
Chad's got it.
Yeah, Chad made me this mug. Isn't that cool? SimplyWoodenCreations.com.
He made one for me too. It's fantastic, and he does that on his laser, and he has a fourth axis in it. And
I even got one with the Southern Woodworkers on it.
Oh, look at that! That one, the detail on that's great.
Yeah. When you go to Russ's house and you have dinner, he's got like a different mug for each place setting. So you have like 8 people sitting there with different mugs and stuff.
I'm not trying to interrupt what you're saying, but yeah, Chad, he's been on my show and showed us how he made the mugs.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool. And I will have to say, I have bought mugs professionally made from companies, so to speak. And then I have bought mugs from Chad. And to be honest with you, his beats, like from companies supposed to be professional guys or whatever, hands down without any problem. I mean, I couldn't be happier.
Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic. I was super impressed with it too. He's a laser guy. Like if you want to learn how to use a laser, like talk to him, not me. I'm still just sticking crap in there and seeing what happens,
Yeah. He has that rotary access, so to speak.
Yeah.
It turns them and everything.
I think Thunder Laser makes one. If they sell another laser, I'm going to ask them for one.
Yeah.
I get credit for another laser sale.
Yeah. I think Paul John's Life says, I think Wes uses his on the Yeti style mug. Yes. I mean, it doesn't, you can use them on any style mug. It doesn't matter if it's a Yeti or these happen to be the Ozark from Walmart mugs.
Yeah.
When he asked me, he says, "You want it on a Yeti?" When I did the Simply Wooden, he said, "You want it on a Yeti or you want it on?" I said, "Hell no, I ain't affording no Yeti. Give me a cheap mug."
Yeah, but so there's like your example of finding ways to do high quality work on metal with a laser is powder coated, go the reverse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I made the mistake of getting the Yeti one.
Why was it a mistake?
Because it was expensive.
Yeah, I'll take this. This is the Walmart Ozark Trail, I think it is, brand, and I'll take this against the Yeti any day of the week. I mean, it does everything that I want it to do, and I paid a whole hell of a lot less. And this thing, I've had this for over a year now. And this, I have put it through hell. It's been through the dishwasher. It's, I mean, and it still looks as good as the day that I bought it.
Yeah.
I mean, so his powder coating holds up. I'm not just talking about the mug. I'm talking about the powder coating. I was looking for, I mean, even the little place right here in the R, or where's it at? R for creations. That little old tiny dot of red is still there.
Yeah.
After hundreds of dishwashers going through. So
He used to mask those things off with, stickers and stuff too. When
yeah,
we did them before.
yeah. So anyway, enough about mancrafting.
It's not a Chad advertising.
Yeah, I
channel.
like Chad. He's a heck
he's
of a
awesome.
guy.
Yeah.
So, anybody got any more questions out there, or the panel?
Yeah, Tim, I was following your satellite dish. Is it a chair project?
God.
How did that end? I never saw the ending.
The video's out. It's
Is it? Okay.
I'm
way behind.
Yeah, that was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I was trying to get, I thought it'd be really funny and sort of meta to get like, I want to get like Netflix or YouTube or someone to like sponsor it and make it like this whole like, oh, who needs satellite kind of a thing. But you can't get a real person. Like I was emailing all these people and you just can't get a real person at companies that size. And I ended up getting a little discouraged and just kind of wrapping it up and finishing it. But there's a video out there and it's cool. I didn't do the full upholstery. Like I just kind of roughed that out just to finish it. I was like, I can't waste any more time on this stupid chair. Still in my, if you ever want to sit in it, it's still in my loft.
I was going to say, it's not in the center of the living room or anything, right?
No. I mean, it was a prototype idea. It was, yeah. I could do it better. Like, I would like to actually get the opportunity to make a better one someday, but I doubt I will.
Well, you did have me looking at satellite dishes every time I saw them in the trash.
Yeah, there's some good metal in there. It's all those pipes and the brackets and stuff are really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a scrounger, but I just haven't got the space for scrounging and storing things that big.
It adds up.
Yeah.
Where's Vance?
Vance should be in bed by now. It's getting late.
I was hoping to get to see him tonight. But...
Hey, here, I'll show you something. Vance and I, hang on one sec.
Okay.
So a few months ago, I was working on some guitar designs, and Vance was kind of being a kid and climbing up on me. I was like, kind of like, I'm busy, son. And so I handed him a piece of paper, and I said, "Why don't you design some guitars with me?" And so he drew some guitars, and this one design he made, I really liked, and so I brought it into the digital world. And so this is
cool.
Vance designed this bass guitar, and
wow.
And so he drew this on paper, and we took it, I vectorized it and I cut it out in the CNC, but he's been involved in making this on every step. So this wood came from when the woodworking show comes to Springfield. Chris, I saw you there once.
Yep.
Last year's woodworking show, this piece of walnut we got from the slab guy outside. Vance.
Oh, yeah.
And so, so Vance got this wood right from the slab. We had it drying in my shop for 9 months. He was checking with the moisture reader. So I run the table saw and stuff, of course, but so he was involved in from there. We made the neck, we put the binding on it. He pressed the frets in, he sanded them, he shaped the neck and sanded it. He did the soldering with me. He did every step of this with me. So he's 8 years old and he's made his first bass guitar. So he's like 30 years ahead of me already. It's been a great father-son project. So we've been working on that instead of doing, I haven't been pushing the camera like on him as much. We just been kind of like, I didn't want him to think that woodworking was only about like making videos. I want him to just experience the joy of just creating. But I have been Instagramming it a little bit. Every time he was in the shop while we were working on this, I would Instagram it. And so I might collect all the Instagrams together and from the stories and try to put a video together if I get time.
Yeah.
Sweet.
No, I understand what you're saying because my grandson loves, matter of fact, he might be watching me tonight. He watches me all the time. And it's Gage. So Gage, if you're out there.
Hi, Gage.
Yeah, he may or may not answer up into the chat, but I know that he does watch me because he talks about it. But anyway, my point is he loves to come over and do videos. And If I would allow it, he'd be over here every day, and we'd
Yeah.
be making videos, and he'd be doing stuff in the shop. And I love having him over. That's what he was just over. We're matter of fact, we started last Sunday. His father Clay and I, and he doesn't have a shop like I have, so Clay brought him over, and we started working on his the Boy Scouts. The what's the little car?
Yeah, the Derby.
Oh,
Yeah, the Derby.
Pinewood Derby.
Pinewood Derby.
Pinewood Derby. Yeah.
Well, we're starting to build his Pinewood Derby car this year. We built one last year for him, and he did pretty good. He came out third in his division, so which was not bad. So he placed, but he wants a #1 car, and so we started that this past Sunday. So I know exactly what you're saying, and that's what I tried to tell him, because the first thing that he comes through the door is can we make a video of this, what I'm doing today? And which reflects back to what you were trying to say. It's not all about the videos. It's about what you're in here to do and what you need to learn, or what I need to teach you, or I want to teach you. It's not all about the videos, because they do at that age, especially if they're watching YouTube and other stuff all the time, like at Fortnite or whatever that stupid program that they watch all the time. Yeah, so they get into that mindset that let's do a video, let's do a video, let's do a video, and the woodworking is just secondary, which that shouldn't be.
Yeah, that's it was starting to feel like work too.
Yeah.
Making the video. So yeah.
Well, I totally understand.
Yeah.
We had a couple of questions out here. Tim, Jeff Robinson wants to know if you've made any other wooden toys.
I think everything I made is a wooden toy.
Well, I think he means for like younger people, not for like guys like us that would play one of your guitars all the time.
Well, if you're looking for ideas, I have a series every year on Black Friday. I put a video out where I make a handmade Christmas gift, and most of them are like toys in some aspect. So it's called, like, I think I call them #boycott Black Friday or whatever. If you type in Tim Sway Black Friday, they'll come up. And so I've done like chess sets and like other like Othello type games, as well as like one of the ukuleles that I made. I made some blocks, like some CNC blocks, and also some other types of blocks that were like interactive. And it's kind of as my kids get older, the projects get a little more sophisticated because their toy needs are. So we go back like 6 years, and it's like these really simple wooden blocks I made. It was like a 2x4 table saw project, and now, you know, then they get up into like ukuleles and stuff, you know. So, and then I've done some like little toy cars and trucks. I recreated my pickup truck out of wood once. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. A few things.
Dan Engie out in the chat's asking, how do you keep your creativity going?
Yeah, that's a good question. How do you not get burned out from thinking about things to do, you know, with all the different stuff that you see that floats through your shop or through a dumpster or wherever, you know, wherever you get parts from?
Right. I mean, I don't have a shortage of ideas. I have a shortage of time. So I have to try to pick the ideas that I think are worth chasing, because they're not all good ideas either. And sometimes I pick the wrong idea, like the chair, the satellite dish chair, you know. But I think that creativity is a muscle, or I think of it like a muscle. And I think that the more you work out, the stronger it gets. That's all. So I think people are like, oh, you're so creative, I'm not creative. I totally don't buy that. I think everybody can be creative and have creative ideas if they try. And I think what happens is, in everything, whether it's getting good at woodworking or having creative ideas or playing guitar, I think people give up too fast. Not everybody, of course, but a lot of people. And so that right when it starts to get hard, that's when it starts to get interesting. And if you just give up, and it's even like the laser, like right after the 20th like time someone said, no, we're not going to give you a free laser, get away from us. If I gave it up, I wouldn't have gotten to the 21st one where I got a free laser. Like,
you got to persevere. So
yeah, through everything. You develop the muscle, and it just keeps getting better. And then it starts getting the reward takes a while to get to, but then you get to that place. Like I've been, you know, doing this for a living now for about 10 years. And I'm just now starting to feel like it's coming together, you know, a little bit.
Never surrender, but do it just for fun.
Yeah.
How big is that actual laser? You said you had to rearrange your shop to fit it in. How big is that thing?
It's well, the cutting area is 35 by 23, but then the box itself is bigger, of course. So and then there's this extension because it has this extended laser, so it sticks out like another 12 inches. So the whole box is probably like 6 feet by 4 feet.
It's like a chest freezer, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
I could climb in it. If I lowered the table down, I could probably climb in it. I could climb in it and have lunch. Like,
Wow.
It's a bad way to get a tattoo, but hey, if that's what you're into, go ahead.
But so the guy, like, I made the deal, and then Clay, the salesman, he says, like, the deal was always for this benchtop one. It's 24 by 18 cutting area, so something you could put on top of a table. And Clay, I'm like, okay, and then so the deal happens. I don't see it. I don't hear from him. But I kind of follow up, like, hey, what's up? They're like, oh, we don't have any in stock right now. We'll get back to you. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna, I'm getting it for free. All of a sudden, I get a text from the guy, and he's like, hey, I'm at a trade show in LA, and I didn't sell the laser. Usually I do. He's like, can I just freight you a used one? I was like, yeah, I don't care if it's used. Absolutely. That's great. That's perfect for me, So he goes, okay. Yeah. So he neglects to tell me that it's a 100-watt, 7-foot long laser. He just sort of, and plus it has like the cooler and there's a blower and stuff. And so he doesn't tell me any of this stuff. He just wraps it all up in saran wrap and freights it off to me. And so I go pick it up I go to the freight center. I back up my old pickup truck, the paperwork and stuff. And the guy's comes out with a forklift and he goes, is that your truck? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I don't think it's going to fit in your truck. I'm like, what do you mean it's not going to fit in my truck? And he pulls it out and it just fit. I had the laser tube like hanging over. It's like I have a full-size truck, but it's only a 6.5-foot bed, just fit in there with the door closed. And it weighs like 750 pounds. And I don't have a forklift. I don't have a loading dock, And so I got my 70-something-year-old father-in-law to come over and help me get this thing off the truck. We backed up my truck into a grass hill where the tailgate's kind of level with the grass, and we just put a bunch of plywood down and it's on wheels, and we wheeled it onto the plywood, and then we're like kind of got the plywood so we could roll it down the hill. I'd pull my truck out of the way, and we were just sort of like, and this is and it's like July, it's like 150 degrees out. And so we got this thing and it's like teetering on the edge, and I'm just like, if it rolls, just step out of the way. And it's not going to hit anything. There's enough room before it's not going to get enough speed to hit the barn, You
should have made a video of that.
Hey, no
That
kidding.
would have got more views than anything.
If I wasn't so nervous and sweating so much, it was horrible. It was horrible. And then we couldn't get. It was like, it was exciting, but it was like, I felt so bad for my father-in-law. I'm like, he was the only guy around that could help me, and it was going to rain that night. I had to get the thing in,
Wow.
It was crazy.
I wanted to ask you about the podcast, but there was like a couple other people that had actually serious questions. That
Where are you seeing these questions in the chat?
They're over in the chat.
I'm like missing them.
Paul's John's Life wants to know where the marimba is now.
They're on the YouTube feed.
On the YouTube feed. That's got like two screens going here at the same time. So
I see it now. Yeah.
Okay.
The marimba is in Michigan at the Bosch Visitor Center. And somewhere it's in Detroit, the Detroit area. So the marimba is a double helix, like a DNA double helix spiral. It's 7 feet tall, and we're like, inside. If you picture like a DNA model, like you would have made in school. Well, we didn't really know about DNA when we were in school, but it's like those DNA double helixes. So all the lines going across are marimba keys, so you can play it like a kind of odd musical instrument. I made that for a art show. And it was Bosch foot of the bill. So that's they own it. So it's at their visitor center. And
wasn't that in Grand Rapids before?
Yes, it was in.
But they moved it.
I drove it to Grand Rapids, where it was in a gallery for this art prize show. And then after the show was over, Bosch took it. They took it around. It traveled a little bit.
Okay.
And they took it to a couple different, and now it's their final resting place is their visitor center. So it's like in the lobby, so people can walk in and play it, I guess. Which is pretty awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
What was the other one, Jim? That
Chris Neal wanted to know if you can remove the bottom of the Thunder laser to engrave things too big to fit into the laser. Chris, do you mean something like where some of them have an opening in the bottom where you can slide, through it?
Yeah. It has doors. Yeah, there's a door in the front on the 35-inch side that opens up. And I think there's one on one of the sides too, so you can go that direction. And mine, because it's like this giant floor model, it's not like a benchtop one, has a 9.7-inch clearance from the laser. So you could actually put in like a 9.7-inch or 9.6 9-inch box, you know, inside this thing and engrave on top of it.
Wow, that's a pretty good size.
It's enormous. I mean, my CNC has 7-inch clearance, and my CNC is enormous clearance.
Yeah.
You know, it's like more than that. Yeah.
Oh, Chris said the bottom, not the side. So maybe the slide. Chris, do you mean slide something underneath it?
Yeah, but here's the problem. There's only going to be a distance that the laser is going to be accurate from the point of the laser down. Right.
Right.
So,
You have to, it has to be flat. So you'd have to prop it up and make sure it goes in straight, you know. But yeah, so if you had like you had an 8-inch box, you know, like say like a 24-inch by 12-inch 8-inch box, I could put it in there and set as long as it was flat. I have messed around too. I've shimmed stuff. I've been messing around a little bit because it goes out of focus. Like I just did a guitar where I put some laser engravings on it after I'd carved some shapes out. And so it's kind of cool because it still burns it, but just not as focused, you know, as it dips down. So kind of like fades, you know, and kind of goes around edges and stuff.
Okay.
It's a fun tool.
Oh, I was just going to say, this is came off of my CNC. This is an Aztec calendar that I did.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you use a 30-degree bit?
Yeah.
Or
yeah,
the detail is stunning.
Yeah, I did that on my CNC. And this this is just made from MDF. And what I did was painted the board. I have found this MDF works fantastic for detailed work.
It's great.
Yeah, I hate the MDF normally, but it cuts so clean and crisp on the CNC. What I did was lay it down and I painted like 4 or 5 coats of the red and then let it cut through the red to get the design. And then I just put 3 or 4 coats of lacquer over the top of that.
Yeah. 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 MDF works really well in the CNC. I mean, again, I agree. And it's like, God, the dust that comes off it is horrible, but.
Oh, I don't have any. I have mine encased totally in plexiglass.
Yeah.
And then I've been in construction. So over the years, I obtained big squirrel cages from Central Heat and Air Units. So in the back of the CNC, I have a 12-inch opening, 12-inch in diameter opening with a 12-inch tube that runs out to like a 3,500 cubic feet per minute, 3.5-ton squirrel cage for an air conditioner.
Soup it up.
I'm picturing you in there, like adjusting some of the CNC and your beard just sort of.
If I open the door and leave it open and turn on the ventilation, it'll slam the front door. I literally have to open the window in the shop to give it enough air to suck it through. If I don't open the window, there'll be a lot of sawdust on the table because it just can't get the ventilation. If I do open the window, it sucks it off. So cutting MDF, not a problem. It sucks all that stuff and blows it, and it just blows it out into the side of the shop. And people say, like, well, if you cut a lot of stuff, won't it just? I said, the first big wind that comes along blows that stuff all over.
It's all biodegradable. Yeah.
Yeah. You'll never even know it's there. So
yeah.
We have a few questions from the chat. Someone wanted to know, Tim, have you sold any of your guitars to any famous people?
Not that I know of. I haven't. No, not that I know of. I mean, I haven't sold a ton of them. I'm still just kind of developing that business. But hopefully, some people will get famous. You know?
In other words, you didn't sell one to Elvis Presley?
No, I have not sold one to Elvis yet. I'm waiting for him to return my phone calls. I called him when I was calling all the laser companies.
Holly, if you came to mind when you guys said that, or when I saw that question.
Jeff Robinson wants to know, have you ever tried building a Cajun?
Oh, a cajon.
Okay. I pronounced it wrong.
Yes, I have one. I have one I made around here somewhere. I made one for my son when he was really little too. It's like a cajon is, if you don't know what it is, it's like a box that you sit on, and then you bang between your knees on the box, and it's like a drum.
Okay.
And there's like a snarey kind of sound in it, and then there's like a bassy kind of sound. And I made a couple. They were fun. I saw recently an Instagram ad with some guys making one that's like on a strap that's like small that you can carry. I thought that was pretty cool. Oh, and I have a guitar I made that has these detachable parts, and one of them is like a mini cajon that you slide on, so you have like a drum built onto your guitar. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing more with drums. I need to learn more about that.
Now, when you did your your sound test of the woods, which that was one of your last videos, and I watched all that one all the way through because I was very curious about that.
It's long. It was a long video.
Yeah, it was a long video, but I watched the whole thing. I was really interested, about the different, how the woods would react. And I was interested and learned a ton of information off of that, about that. But isn't that kind of one of those guitars that you made that you can just slide anything on it and start playing on it?
Yeah, that one's actually over here too. That one's probably better because it sits better. So here, I'll show you. Hang on.
Yeah.
I can reach it. So it's, of course, I have the door body on it right now. The chipboard.
Yeah, that's a solid core door. Or
it has character.
Yeah, solid core door. So it's, I don't know if I can get this off kind of sitting here without the tool, but you can see that it comes out, obviously.
Yeah.
And it was just this sort of a development of this idea. The original one I made, this was kind of like a rectangle that opened up a little bit, and I had 2 metal pins in the top and the bottom, and then a T-track, a T-rail, and these wings that would slide on. Right. So the original one, the idea was like, I was picturing like a lot of these cover bands, they go out and they play these like 20-minute long like compilations of like a bunch of different songs, and they play the choruses and the guitar solos. And I was picturing like the guitar player like going from like some 80s song and like having like one guitar, and then they go into like a metal song, so they attach like a flying V to it. So I thought it'd be like kind of a funny like gimmick. And so I just I made that, and then I developed it to where I had it so there's like other instruments that attached to it, like other necks and stuff, and then but it was kind of crude, like the way the track worked and the magnet. So then I came up with this kind of press on for that, because that whole Tonewood test was really just an excuse to make this. I just wanted to make it.
Have you done a steel guitar?
If people don't, hold that up again real quick.
Oh.
If people don't understand what he's saying, is all the white wood with the black neck or the dark neck comes out of the body of the other piece of wood. So,
yeah. So I have these holes in the back. I have this tool. Oh, that's right. The door one is actually the wrong side. I cut these by hand, so I'm trying to get it out.
It's pretty cool. I was like, wow, that's the way you did that. I was thinking, like, wow, that would be awesome.
There,
Tim, while you're doing that, I can't remember which wood won the tone contest when you did the tone contest video, or was it just what you got in your hand there?
Well, it's so subjective. You can't that's for me. I kind of like the door one just because it's just funny.
Yeah, but okay. The poplar that had the brightest. I thought the poplar had the brightest sound of all of them.
Yeah, me too. Yep.
It did seem a little bit brighter and louder, but the other thing too was like I was trying to, and if you read the comments, everybody's saying you need a robotic strummer, like because I'm and to have it just open tuned instead of me holding a chord. So I was trying to strum as consistently as possible across this line. And there's a very good chance, because I didn't do 100 tests. I just did one take,
Right.
Very good chance that all those tonal differences are just from me.
But you weren't trying to be so damn scientific that to set the world straight on how this is going to work. You were just doing a simple little experiment to see if there was a big difference. And I read some of the comments, and I even saw your Facebook post, and I was thinking, like, boy,
you want to know you want to know the truth?
Yeah.
Okay. The truth is that Tonewood is like the most contentious thing in the guitar world. There are people on both camps. It's like the abortion debate or politics. There's people on either side of the spectrum. The Tonewood is true or Tonewood is false, and there's no changing anyone's mind ever. It is just that political, that contentious.
Really?
So what I do is I use that as an excuse to make silly guitars and get views.
That's funny.
Because personally, I'm in the camp that thinks, who cares? That's my camp. Like, I know I made guitars out of snow skis and pallets, and to answer your question, I did make one out of aluminum once. And I just don't care. Like, I know that I can make them sound. They all sound different because every one of them is different. Guitars are just full of magic, and so I just have fun with it.
I don't think if you made even when the manufacturers make it. If they're making it, all right, let's say you're going to manufacture guitars out of nothing but walnut. But that within itself, each tree has a different density different everything about it, the way it grows, how much water it took on that year or years previous.
Either side of the book match are going to sound different. Either side of the book match.
Exactly.
Yep.
So
you can't put your money in that. And there are companies that charge thousands and thousands and thousands, like a ridiculous amount of money, is because they're claiming to using this certified tone wood. How the frig do you certify tone wood?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Well, speaking of trees, Matt Hawes wants to know, how did Tim survive the podcast episode where Lutz stated all wood is reclaimed because it comes from trees? Facepalm.
I don't listen to a lot of what Lutz says. That's how.
Pretty
okay
funny.
then.
Yeah, I mean, it's all subject, but I loved how you did that, because I was thinking, like, all right, like you said, you could not strum each thing the exact same, and I immediately picked up on that, and I said, he's just fooling around to see if all of a sudden he goes in there and he strums one and then he strums the other and goes, oh my God, Walnut's so much better than all the others, you know.
Yeah.
You all that right off the bat. But you actually didn't find that. You actually felt that most of them were pretty well the same, with the exception of Poplar sounded a little bit, because even when I heard it, when you first strummed the Poplar, I was going like, wow, that sounded really bright compared to the other woods that you had done.
And there are follow-up videos to that on my other smaller YouTube channel, where I do like a blind listen, where I just sit and I play a song on 3 different bodies and I obscure the guitar so you can't tell which is which, and I tell people to guess.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah,
and there's other ones, where I play it a little more than just sort of that clinical, because we don't make music in a laboratory. Music is an art, it's a passion. So I just tried to just play them, and I don't care. Like, honestly, I don't care what the spectral analysis is. I don't care, because that's not what I'm listening to. I'm listening to the music being played.
Time, and I got everything about that video, but you were having a good time, and you just wanted to see for yourself if there was some kind of a difference.
Yeah, and I mean, even like, the other part of the test is flawed, and the other big complaint, besides not using a robot to strum it, because robots are what makes music, is that the bridge is attached to the same piece of wood all the time, so all that other stuff is, which I addressed in the video and and whatnot. There are people that have done it where they've taken the same parts off and put them on other guitars, but I just, like I said, I just wanted to make this guitar. I thought it was a cool idea.
All right, so I got a proposition. Have you watched any of my shows?
Yeah, back. It's been a while, I admit. So, okay. But I haven't watched anything on YouTube.
So do you know what happens at the end of my shows usually?
No, I do not.
Okay, well, you're going to find out tonight. So, what I'm getting at is I sing a song that I wrote at the end of the show.
Okay,
and I've always wanted to have a guitar accompaniment.
I don't know if it's going to work with the time, but we can try.
No, not tonight. I'm going to send you a recording of the song, and then you play it, and then send me your thing back, and then I will play it as I sing on the show
Gotcha. Okay.
We need a band. That's what we need.
Yeah, we need a band, but just in a guitar accompaniment. No, at the end of the show, I sing a little song. Everybody knows. I'll just sing it right now, but it's not the end of the show. I know this is what I sing at the end of my song. Just give me sawdust, lots of sawdust, all around me and everywhere. I like it flying all around my shop and even in my beard and hair. So I sing that at the end of the show every night, and I was thinking, like, wow, I got Tim Sway on here. I'll ask him if he could do a little guitar little thing, and then I could play it at the end with my song. So,
got it.
Are you going to ask him something else, Russ?
No, No.
Yeah.
What do you
I will.
Like something about
Woodshop Confessions.
Oh yeah, the woodshop. I know the woodshop
Confessions.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting them out there in the chat too. People are going woodshop confession. All right, Tim. Woodshop confession is what is something that you did in their shop that after you did it, you went like, why the hell did I do that? One of the dumb things that you do, that we all do in our shops, everything. We want to hear one of those stories from you tonight.
Oh, man.
Yeah, if it involved blood or stitches, it's even better.
Yeah, that's even better, yeah.
All right, well, just the stitches reminded me of one. So I did a video with Vance. It was I wrote to Rockler because that's what I do. Like I just write, and sometimes I get lucky, and it works out. But as I wrote to Rockler like a bunch of years ago, and because my son was 5 and he started to come in the shop and he wanted to use the lathe, I wanted to get him a good face mask and some safety gear. He's young, and so I just wrote to Rockler. I was like, hey, can you send me a box of safety gear? And I'll do an unboxing and talk about it with my son. And they were like, yeah, sure. So we film it. Vance and I open the box. Everybody's having a great time. We're doing the whole opening and stuff. And then we get done. We turn the cameras off. And so I start opening the packages further. And I pull out my trusty pocket knife. And I go, and I 5 stitches. Whoa! just right through my. I just right through my thumb. And like, it was a safety video. It was the best part. And so I did it. And my son's so young. And I saw instantly, I was like, and we're there alone, my wife wasn't there. And I saw instantly that I was going to need stitches, and I didn't want him to see it. I didn't want him to freak out. And so I just grabbed a paper towel and I was like, grab daddy's phone, would you? So he grabs the phone. I call my wife. I'm like, I got to go to the hospital. You got to come pick Vance up.
That's a good one. I'm going to bless you, my son, so you won't have any more further accidents like that in the shop.
Thank you.
I think one of my favorite ones, and I got to tell this one real quick. My good friend Steve Good was on the show. You know who Steve Good is, the scroll saw guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. He told one. He goes, he was in there cooking, and the thing started burning, and the smoke alarm started going off. Well, it just wouldn't go off. He thought he cleared everything up, but it just kept on going off. It wouldn't go off. So he was took the towel and was blowing across it, trying to get it to go off. He did everything in the world he could get, and it was still the the smoke alarm wouldn't go. Finally, he got so mad, he reached up and grabbed it and snatched it off the wall. His wife walked in the door, and she looked at him. She says, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I couldn't stand the smoke alarm anymore." And she goes, "That's great. It's still going off because you got the doorbell." So that's one of my favorite ones.
Oh, that's good.
He was the whole time. The reason he couldn't get it to go off, I mean, he couldn't reset it because he had the damn doorbell. It wasn't a smoke alarm after all. So.
It's funny.
It is. Just real quick out there. Hey, guys, great 31 thumbs up. We got 45 people watching right now. If you other 10 or 15 people could throw me a thumbs up out there to show me that you like this show and like the video, I sure would appreciate it. So
I did. I gave it a thumbs up.
Okay, cool. Yep. So if all y'all else out there would do that, I appreciate it. So we've got Matt Haas from Awesome Wood Things, Aussie Man, Chris Nealon's still out there. Dan Ingy Woodworking is out there. Paul John's Life, College View, Aussie Man. Let's see. Let's go back up. Let's see if I can find some other. Jeff Robinson has been out there. He's the one that did the Cajon.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, not the Cajun.
Well, that's the American way to say it.
Well, I know, but my point. We'll go through this in just a second. I'm giving her heck because she always. I'm the one that says Rockler instead of Rocklear, and they always correct me about that. So when somebody else makes a mistake, it's so good.
I'm not saying anything tonight.
Yeah, John Willis.
We're totally mute.
Best way to be right.
John Willis, Jeff Robinson, John Willis, all y'all guys who have been out there in the chat. I appreciate you so very much. I'm looking back through just to see who else we have in there. Portal Woodworks. Hey, Portal Woodworks. What's his name? Somebody help me.
David Jones.
David Jones. David Jones. David, haven't seen you out there in the chat in a while. Glad you're out there. Portal Woodworks has been out there. Anyway, I appreciate you all being out there and being out there in the chat watching the show.
Where's Niantic River Workshop? Where's your question?
Niantic.
Yeah, he had another question. I'm trying to find it.
Nitanic.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
and they're done.
No, that's Niantic because he's in Connecticut. That's Niantic.
Niantic.
See how bad I am on pronunciation?
Tim, I've been correcting him on that one for a year.
Chris Nealon.
What was his question, by the way?
I don't know. He wrote. He wrote. I don't remember.
Chris, you still on the laser question?
I think it was the doors in the bottom of the laser.
Yeah, I think the answer would have been focal point of the laser.
Yeah.
Good now.
In other words, if I'm
Cranky
reading his question right, he's thinking if you could open the doors on the bottom of the laser, could you bring stuff underneath it? And that goes back to what I was talking about. There's a distance from that laser down that can cut and only cut and do things.
Yeah, so you have to get it to, I think it's 6 millimeters on mine. So
yeah. So if you had something down here 12 inches below, it's not going to do nothing but shine a flashlight on it, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's not going to cut or do anything.
Yeah, they do have hatches and doors that open up. So if you can fit it through this hatch and get it up to that proper height to the laser head, that works. And so, yeah, like I could take a door, like a 30-inch by 8-foot long door, and I could stick it into the laser and engrave my name in the top 23 inches of it, because that's how deep the cutting area is. So that, and I could do the bottom 23 inches of the door as well, but that middle 23 inches I wouldn't be able to reach.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have their limitations. Like my CNC is a 24 by 36 inch bed, but it can't do the complete 24 by 36 inches cut. It's down to like about 18 by 30 or something like that it actually can cut out of that 24 by 36.
Right. Yeah, my bed's 48 inches long, but it only cuts 36.
Yeah. There's a limitation in there.
Like engraving a car hood or a casket. Yeah, well, you could stick the casket wouldn't fit in because it wouldn't fit in like the thing that I have. But you could take the lid off the casket. I could fit the lid of the casket because that's going to be less than 9 inches tall, even with the curve. So if you want to engrave something into the lid of your casket, I can do that. But only into like either the top 23 inches of it or the bottom 23 inches of it, like on either of the long ends.
Yeah.
Just not in the middle.
Yeah, they have their these are like hobbyist toys. They're not full blown, because they have CNCs that are out there that can do what you're talking about.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, if you go to like a real laser factory, they have the 8-10 foot long laser engravings and stuff. Those are, $50, $60, $70, $100,000 or whatever they are. But mine's like small factory.
And the same thing with CNCs. Have you ever seen those 3-dimensional CNCs can actually? I watched one the other day who cut out a bathtub.
Yeah. I go in car plants a lot for work, and they've got booths that you can walk past them, but they've got the like red shielded glass in them and stuff. And like companies like Trump and places like that make these things, but the car body goes in, and the car body gets trimmed by this laser. So if there's any extra stuff hanging off the side that's not supposed to be, for whatever reason, this thing goes through and laser scans it and checks it, and then it'll trim the whole side of the car off with it.
But then the same aspect, you're looking at a machine like that's $30, $40, $50, $100,000.
Oh yeah, probably $200,000 or $300,000 for the whole thing. Yeah, easy.
I was watching one of my favorite ones was years ago when they had the guys that made the motorcycles. What was their names? It was on Discovery Channel.
Oh, the brother or the father son.
Orange County Choppers.
Yeah, Orange County Choppers. Yeah.
Yeah, Orange County Choppers. They bought that machine that actually was a water jet that actually cut the aluminum billets and made their aluminum wheels.
Yeah, that stuff is sick. Those water jets. There is that company now called the Wazer, and I don't think they're actually on the market yet, but I've seen them at maker fairs and stuff, and they have a Glowforge size water jet cutter. You can cut 1/8-inch steel or something like that with it.
Yeah.
Which is I can't wait for that to be on the market. I don't know if I can afford it, but I want to wait.
When they were doing their own, like I said, they did their own billet. They had their own billets, and then they cut them in to make their own wheels for their own motorcycle. I'm like, wow, that is absolutely awesome. You come up with your own design for your own wheel for that particular motorcycle, and nobody else has it out there. So
one off. Yeah.
Okay, so anybody on the panel with any more questions?
I wanted to ask a little bit about the podcast, but I don't know how much more time we have left.
Oh, we got all the
Looks
time.
like
We have until he says, I got to go, Russ.
Oh. Tim, why do you think the podcast is so popular in the maker group?
I think that we just got lucky with our personalities just work well together. You talking about my particular podcast or podcast in general?
No, just the reclaimed audio
Reclaimed
podcast.
audio.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that's my favorite one. I really like that one a
thanks.
lot. But
I think that like what I wanted when Phil contacted me about it, I was a little skeptical that there was the market for it. But he was, convinced that there was, and he was right. And I just said, well, I want it to be fun. I want it to be like car talk, like it's just not like a bunch of like lecturing, and,
Right.
And so then I admitted I suggested William Lutz as the third member.
so it was your fault.
It's my fault. And so that was it. And it just, worked out really well. Just something about our chemistry just works well. So, we just go in and just talk for an hour. We've become very good friends over the course of the 3 years. And, it's great.
But sometimes that's what it takes. You can have 3 people talk on a podcast, and sometimes that 3 people just don't quite make it. But when you get the right 3 people, that combination, for some reason, is their personalities, everything just matches up and works together. Then it becomes very interesting, and people want to listen to it.
I look at it a lot like a band. I've been in bands with like just fabulous musicians, but just the chemistry wasn't there, and so the band wasn't good. And then I've been in bands with like a bunch of horrible musicians like me, and we were awesome because it just worked well, and we just got really lucky that right off the get-go that happened, and we agree with each other enough to where we have common ground, but then we also disagree with each other enough to make it interesting. So.
Well, there ain't nobody any better than Bill Lee. I mean, come on.
He's the best. He's such a good guy.
He is. I mean, he is a fantastic guy. I remember the first time I ever met him was 3 years ago at the woodworking show in Atlanta, and he goes, "I'm a hugger," and I said, "That's all right, I am too." So I mean, he's just a great guy, great personality, and I love to watch some of the stuff he does when he does some of his videos, like when he's making those cigar box banjos or whatever, or guitars. I love to watch what he does. And right now he's into doing the some of the shops or whatever.
His wife is changing studios.
Yeah, studios. So
hair salons.
Yeah, and he's redoing that one, and I love some of the stuff he comes up with, because when you see, he's kind of, I know he tries to recycle a lot of the stuff too, but when you look at his combinations of the way he puts things together, you go like, wow, actually, if I'd have saw that in any other place, I wouldn't have thought it'd look good, but the way you put it together and made it work, it looks great.
He's a I hope he never hears this. I
won't tell him you said it.
No,
okay?
nobody will tell him. Yeah,
no, we won't tell him.
Go ahead, Tim.
He's. I feel like Bill is like a true artist that never had the opportunity. They call it folk art, right? Like he's like, I think that he just never got the opportunity to be introduced to that, like to get that education. And so he's just does it his own way. And I am thankful for that, because his own way is so unique and so different. Like he just has a natural ability to put things together in this really unique way. And I feel like if he did get that artistic education, that he would be working in some other medium that they would have taught him to work in, and then we wouldn't get to see these amazing. And then he's got all that history of just working with his hands and materials. It's just the perfect storm for him to just create really unique pieces.
Yeah.
Some of the members of the chat would like to know, Tim, what's your favorite? Let's see, what was it here?
Tool brand.
Your favorite tool brand.
I don't have one. I really don't. I generally shoot for the one in the middle, like the one that price wise is in the middle. I almost, like, if I'm overwhelmed, I just go, okay, that one's $10, that one's $5, this one's $7.50. I'll take that one, because it just almost always works. And most of them are made by the same overlords anyways nowadays. But I do collect Miller's Falls tools, which I'm just because I have
Sounds
my
like a beer.
Yeah, it does sound like a beer, right? It's some kind of, they're a New England brand, I believe. And I don't like avidly collect them because I'm not a collector, but I have my grandfather's Miller's Falls hand plane. And then one day I was at a flea market and I saw one that matched. It was a different size and it was like $5, so I bought it. And then one day I saw like a brace, and so I bought that. And, so I kind of slowly been collecting Miller's Falls for whatever reason.
I'm kind of like that too. I started off a whole bunch of years ago, back when Ryobi had they were actually blue looking, I believe it was.
Oh yeah, I got some Ryobi blues still.
Yeah, and my daughter bought me a whole set of them for Christmas. Had the little saw, the drill, and a few other little tools and everything. But what I get really turned off about them is the batteries went bad fairly quick, and then when they went bad, they went on an arm. I could have bought the whole tool set for what I paid for one battery.
Mm-hmm.
So I put them off and I said, I'm not going to buy Ryobi anymore. Well, over the years, things have changed and they have changed. And now they've come out with their new series, the Ryobi 1, and they got a whole bunch of new gadgets. And so I bought a couple of them. One of them was the drill, it's their regular 3/8-inch electric or battery operated drill and everything. And I've had that thing now for over a year, and I've used it really, really heavy, just trying to put it up against my DeWalt and put it up against my Rigid. And I got news for you. I mean, it produces just as good as the Rigid or the DeWalt. I mean, I put it under some pretty heavy stress. So what I'm trying to lead into is, you're right. Sometimes not the most expensive, but sometimes not the bottom end, but right there is where you want to be, because you get a good tool. It doesn't break your bank, and yet you're not buying the cheap thing that falls off. The battery quits after 30 days or whatever.
What was the name of that one you're talking about? Ryobi, what was it? You said Ryobi 1?
Yeah, that's the new series.
The new series.
Doesn't that sound like Star Wars?
Yeah, they're the green. They're the green.
It really does. Star Wars.
Yeah, they're the green batteries. I don't even know if I have a Ryobi. I got the charger here.
Russ, are you meaning the Obi-Wan Ryobi?
Yeah.
Ryobi 1 Kenobi.
I got the charger here, but I don't have the battery. But yes, the Ryobi, the green.
Yeah, I have a lot of that stuff.
It's actually the 1 Plus.
Oh. The force is strong in him.
Yeah.
Russ is always saying, Ryobi, you're my only hope, Ryobi.
Yeah, Ryobi, you're my only hope, Ryobi. Oh, I have DeWalt, I have Rigid, I have a mixture of a bunch of tools. I have a lot of Harbor Freight stuff that works great.
Yeah, the other thing is how much you're going to use it. Like my belt sander, I very rarely use my belt sander, so I've had the same Harbor Freight one forever because it's. Yeah. But I still have a Ryobi 9.6 volt blue one.
Yep, I've got that whole set over there underneath.
The batteries they don't hold much, but I use it for just tiny drill bits because you want to go slow with those. Yeah. So that one just can't go fast. So I can't torque it too fast,
I think this evolution in drills and stuff like that, the battery technology has advanced so much in the last 5 or 6 years that,
it has.
It's just what we had back then was nothing compared to what we could do now with it.
Batteries are smaller and more powered.
There's more energy density in the batteries now than just we could even have thought about 10 years ago.
And they charge in 15 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let me give you a little thing here. So I had a 14 volt. I think it was a 14 volt battery. And I had bought the newer tools, which were 18 volt. I'm not going to tell you the brand. And I took the 14 volt battery and flipped the 18 volt battery up upside down. I went wow, they're exactly the same, except, I know the charger is for the 18 volt and for the 14 volt. Well, the 14 volt wasn't charging really good anymore. So I stuck it over on the 18 volt charger.
Oh, no. Did it work?
I left it for about 15 or 20 minutes, came back, and then put it back onto the regular charger. That sucker's never worked so good.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, really.
That overcharging it with the more advanced voltage, I don't know what it did to it, but Yeah, and it was not holding a long charge. It holds the charge back again like it used to. And all I did was stick it on the 18 volt and leave it on there for a little while just to give it like a supercharge.
I think that'd be something I'd want to try outside in case I blew up a battery.
That's what I was
Well,
thinking.
I didn't walk away and like leave it for, I was here out in the shop doing some other things, and I kept on peeking around the corner just to see if it was giving any problems. It really it didn't overheat. It was never overheated. Matter of fact, I took it off of the charger without any problem. It wasn't really super hot or anything, and at first I didn't even think it did anything. And then I stuck it on its normal charger and let it go through the full cycle until the light quit blinking, and the red light quit blinking and turned green. So I knew it was charged. Then I put it on my drill. When normally I could drill for a short period of time and I could tell it was starting to lose power. It didn't after that.
But if you think about batteries, I hate to keep harping on the battery technology, but 10 years, would you ever thought that you could put a 60-volt battery that's as big as your fist on the back of a chainsaw?
Oh, I know.
And be able to have something like that, or a big blower or something like that. It's just the changes we've had in the industry.
The lithium-ion battery has really advanced the technology and made things a lot better. So.
Well, according to Jeff in the chat, he said you can shock the nickel cadmium batteries to make them work better.
Well, I have read that.
Yeah, you can. Yep.
Yeah. And I have read that because with nickel cadmium batteries, they hold a memory. And for people that don't know this, and I learned this through the fire department. I worked for the fire department for 30 years, and they were really, they got on to us about if you use a flashlight for 15 minutes and stick it back in its charger, and then use the flashlight for 15 minutes and stick it back in its charger, and then use the flashlight for 15 minutes and stick it back in its charger, it will start to retain a memory that it only needs to charge for 15 minutes. So we were told all the time, once you take that flashlight out of the charger and use it for a while, you're better off just leaving it on in the cab of the truck till it fully dies and then sticking it back in the charger rather than just sticking it back in the charger on a partial charge. And so because they retain that memory, they know you've used me for 15 minutes for the last 30 days, and now you're expecting any more out of me?
Yeah, they're like a clingy girlfriend.
Yeah. And a lot of that truth, we learned about that with our the walkie-talkies. We were told that too, drain them down almost dead or close to being dead and before you put them back on the charger. Just don't pick them up and use them for a little bit and stick them back because they'll start retaining that memory. And that's what I learned with the fire department. And it worked out pretty good. We had batteries that would last us 2 or 3 years compared to some of the batteries that people were getting were only lasting a year.
I feel like I had an old phone that was the same way.
Yeah, me too.
Every night I'd put it on the charger and I hadn't used it hardly at all, but I would charge it, and it just seemed like the battery didn't last.
Yeah, it retains that memory of how much it's putting out, which the lithium ion supposedly is not supposed to do that. It's supposed to not have a memory like the old NiCads did.
Woody Walnut on me. Yeah. Did you see that question over there about Paul Jackman?
I did. Yeah, Paul the Kid Jackman. My favorite project is the one that I didn't have to watch. I think would be the.
Ooh. Okay.
No, Paul's a pretty good buddy of mine. I feel like I'm partly responsible for him because I have this. I could try to convince people to quit their jobs all the time, and he's part of my go quit your job and chase your dreams club, and because he was kind of still working full time and he was really doing the YouTube thing, and I remember talking with him and his wife and I was just yeah, because they're a little bit younger and most people don't tell you to quit your job, and I was like, yeah, go ahead. I was like, what do you got to lose? Like money? You always get more money. That's easy. But to go chase your dreams, and so he's really gone out and done some amazing things. It's been super amazing to watch Paul really grow and progress as an artist and a video maker. I mean, holy crap, his video editing. We did a guitar together that he's eventually going to put on his channel. if he gets around to it. It's not a sponsored video, so he's not rushing to put it together. If I paid him, I guess he would now. You know, he's kind of a big deal, I guess.
He's an artist.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Somebody else falls into that category that we just had on the show. It's Drew from Rocking H Woodshop.
Oh, yeah.
Drew Short.
Yeah, Drew Short.
Yep.
Thank you. I couldn't remember his last name. Yeah, Drew Short. He's a very good friend of mine. And now, you know, he was a nurse.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. And he had been working on the position, and he made the transition of going from being a nurse working in a hospital. I think he was an x-ray tech, which he made very good money, into working in his own shop. Now he's full-time working in his own shop.
Well, good for him. I think that people kind of forget that, and that's sort of part of what I always preach too, is that, like, it doesn't matter how much money you're making if you're not happy. You know, I'm broke, but I'm happy.
Yeah.
You know?
We had
paying the bills.
A show last year and discussing why he made his final decision to make that jump and what caused him to make the decision and everything else about that. But here's the thing. It may not be for everyone. Just because some people can do it, it doesn't mean everybody can do it. So don't quit your day job thinking that you're going to build a business in your garage and sell all these kind of stuff. You have to think a little bit about this and make sure that you have all your ducks in a row before you go out. Because I would hate to see somebody quit their job and then fail at it, because that's going to even make it more worse for them later on down the road to even want to do woodworking.
Yeah, you got to have a plan, and when you work for yourself, it means you work harder. It doesn't mean you work less. I mean, I work 18 hours a day, you know, but the difference is that you enjoy it, you know, and you're not doing it for some faceless corporation or for someone you don't even like. Because a lot of times people work at places they don't even like them. You're not making money for them. You're not doing it for them. You're doing it for yourself. That's the difference. But you need to get to that point. Like, even I was self-employed as a musician, and I switched to this. It took me about 6 years to do them both, to get to the point where I could just do this and not have to do that anymore. You know, I mean, and I was already in the game of not having a job and already learned how to eat out of dumpsters or whatever. But you know, tighten my belt, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, if you're like going out to dinner once a week, then you're probably going to need to keep that job. You know?
Yeah, because it like I said, it is one of those things. It's not everybody can do it, and I'm so proud of Drew. I like him a lot. He's been my friend for 3 or 4 years now, and you know, for him to be able to make that transition and make it work, and he's doing very good with himself. You know, that's fantastic, and I like what you said, because you've got to realize that. I told my wife, I said, you know what? Since I retired, I feel that I'm working more than I did before I was retired. And she was like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, okay. It's like I'm having a hard time during the week to find time to mow the lawn. And when I worked all the time, I always mowed the lawn. I mean, I'd work all day long, come home, and found time to go out there and mow. And I had 2 boys that I would go in there and get their butts out. I was going to say asses. I'd go get their asses out of the house in front of the games. And hey, we're mowing the lawn today, and they would all get out there in a line. And I had 4 boys, so they'd all get out there and take turns on making a lap with a lawnmower. And I didn't have no rider. I made them push mow that sucker. Yeah. And so we got the lawn mowed. But then now I find myself doing so many things that I wasn't doing before, that sometimes I look up and I go like, dang, that yard needs mowing. I got to set aside a time to mow the yard, you know? It's like, now you mow the yard and you go, oh, I got to weed eat it too. Then I got leaves out there. I got to rake those. And
I know.
I find time to do them before, and now it seems like it's more of a challenge.
Chris Nealon wants to know, Tim, if you ever miss your music gigs.
No.
Really? Wow, really? You don't miss playing out every once in a while? Because I know I do.
Do you?
Yeah.
I played about 200 shows at least a year for about 10 or 12 years.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't miss is tearing a drum set down, putting it back up, tearing it back down again, bringing it home,
Yeah.
and the PA system. I don't miss that at all. But
what it turned into me was Groundhog Day. Like today is Groundhog Day, but like the movie Groundhog Day, it turned into that for me. It was every gig was like the same people, the same songs. It was this loop that I couldn't get out of, and so then you start self-medicating, which isn't the best way to do it. And it's very easy to do. And I miss the relationship I had with music, and I'm working on getting that back now. With one of my kind of goals for 2019 is to make more music for my videos and here in a controlled environment, not on a stage. And I do some sub gigs every once in a while. It's kind of fun. And if every once in a while the right gig pops up, I'll do it. But I don't miss drummer jokes. I still tell drummer jokes because I'm still friends with drummers.
Okay, then.
No, but I understand what you're saying. It just became to be such a monotonous routine.
Right. Well, I had jobs, right? And I played music, and I had jobs to support playing music, and that wasn't good enough for me. I wanted to play music for a living, and I figured the best way to do it was to go out and play music, and because I wanted to be better. Right. And I wasn't getting better sitting in an office or washing dishes or doing any of these things. The only way I was going to get better was by playing. And I found a way to do that and make a living, and it was great. And I don't regret a minute of it. I got to see some of the world. I got to meet amazing people. I got to do amazing things. I got to help people. I got to bring joy to people. It was all just fantastic. But it became a job, and it made me not like music. And I just had to cold turkey it to get. Like I had to get out of it so I could have that relationship with music again. And I didn't even listen to music for years. Like after the last few years, the only time I would listen to music is if I had to learn a song for a gig, and I would listen to it at 2 times speed in one ear while I drove to the gig. And that's how I would learn it. And I would just go and play it. And then no one didn't enjoy any music. Just, and that sucks.
What I think you just said though, is like a lot of the guys in the group here, they want to go out and do this stuff on their own, but if they have to do it for a living, you gotta play the music. You gotta go. You have to make this for a certain client or whatever. It's not fun anymore. You just want to make something and throw it out there and go to the next thing and make it. And once it becomes a full-time job or whatever, it's just not fun anymore. Yeah.
One-offs are way better than having to do it constantly.
Exactly, Russ. Yeah.
I'm telling you, that's the way I am right now. Because when I first retired from the fire department, I had my construction business. Well, I've always had my construction business. And I went really big there for about 4 or 5 or 6 years, made a ton of money. And at that point, I was like, it's not fun anymore. So I pretty well closed all that down and moved the stuff out here. Well, I decided I was going to start making stuff out here and selling stuff. And I've done that and done very successful with that. But here in the last couple of years, I have discovered that I don't like doing that anymore. And I had people ask me, I need this made or need that made. And I'm like, I've told them a lie, and I'll admit it, that I'm 3 months booked out. So if you want it, you'll have to wait 2 or 3 months, which is not the truth. And I'm sorry to say that I lied to them, but the reason being is because I got to the point where I don't want to make things for people anymore. I want to have fun in my shop again. I haven't done a YouTube video until the other day in a year, as far as that sander thing that I made and just produced. So I have gotten to the point that I want to make things in my shop, make things that are fun, make things that I have fun with and make me happy. And then if I make something, I'll put it up for sale. And if somebody wants to buy it, they can buy it. But I pretty well backed off on a lot of my orders, except for some of my customers that I've had that don't pressure me anything. They will actually say, we're in February. They'll tell me, my daughter's in September of this year, and this is what I like for you to make her. Well, they give me enough time that's fun. I'm not got to make it. Don't have to make it overnight. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But as far as the push projects and stuff, I pretty well pushed them off to the point that I'm going to just make stuff, have fun with it, put it up for sale. If it sells, great. If it don't, I could care less.
Yeah. Well, part of the, for me doing it for a living, that means I have to do a lot of stuff, that's not necessarily exciting. Sure. Right now I'm making 125 stools for a brewery, and that's a shit ton of work, for one guy. It's, welded steel, wood tops, and I have a deadline. But what I do is I use it to streamline my efficiency, get better at welding, practice, and all that stuff. I have all those parts that I trick myself into doing it, to make it enjoyable. And but the real thing is that it finances the fun,
Right.
because the job, I have to have it done by the end of February is my deadline. But now March, I don't have to worry about. March is paid for.
Yeah.
So I can work on what I want to do, which is trying to develop this guitar business. And
yeah, but what happens in April?
Balance. Oh, I have
if you don't have stuff in the pipeline spilling out the end.
Well, that's
you know what I mean. Yeah,
I still haven't figured out that pace.
Okay, but that's the situation that you're in. Russ and I are like, I'm close to retirement. Russ is retired. He can afford to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You have to support a family with
Yeah,
that. So you got to keep filling that pipe at one end so it keeps spilling out at a constant rate on the other.
Oh, absolutely. So, you do. And that's half the job. I mean, I work in the shop 7 hours a day if I'm lucky. And then I work at home 7 hours a night, chasing down leads and doing paperwork and doing, finding clients and making estimates. And you get like about a 20% success rate on that stuff. You know what I mean? It's like for every client you reach out to, they don't all turn into jobs. You might have an hour into a design, 2 hours into emails, gone. Yeah. You're never going to get that back. That's a big part of the business. And that's that perseverance too, about not quitting. It's really easy to be like, you know what? Oh God, like I only get like one job out of every 50 I try. I'm just going to give up. It's like, no, you need to try 100 jobs. Then you get 2 of them. Now you have something else to do next month. That's what that means. And then you get there and it's baby steps. And I'm at a point now, and I'm going to knock on everything that looks like wood around me that I can get work. Like it wasn't, then I couldn't, like 6 years ago, I couldn't always get work, but now I can get the work. And
right. You can, even if you don't have a lot of work coming in, you can go around and ask out, hey, I make this kind of stuff. Is you're interested in this? And they'll, I know you, and you made these bar stools or made these stools for them down there. Yeah, I need to have something made like that.
Yeah. And then the other thing is multiple streams of income is essential if you're going to be self-employed, and so that's, I do custom client work. I make things like my square that I sell. Right. Which that's not going to pay the bills, but it adds up. I have, an Etsy store where I have little $20 to $50 things in there, some $100 things, and every once in a while, one of them will sell. It's not that it's not this huge amount of income, but it's something. And so you add that up, and, the $50 here. And I learned that from the music business. It's like, I got to teach this kid's lessons for $40, and I got this one gig. It only pays $75, but it's 2 to 6. So I can pick up another gig that night, and like all those things. And next thing you know, you've made a living.
Right. Cool. Yeah. That's the way to do it. Really, that's the way you have to do it.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. Okay. I think I've rambled enough.
Yeah, we're fixing to cut out of here. We're rocking on it's approaching 10 o'clock. So yeah, we've done enough, but hey, I want to tell you, dude, thank you so very much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry it took me so long.
No, we've had a fantastic time. Everybody, we still got 35 people hanging on watching us until 10 o'clock at night.
Wow. There's nothing on TV tonight.
Yeah. So, that's wonderful and great. So, we're going to call it a night. I'm looking back through to see if there's anybody see anything out there that's really, really good that we should ask him before we get off.
Just drummer jokes. That's
just drummer jokes.
Yeah.
I'll tell my favorite. My favorite is, what's the difference between a drummer and a pizza? A pizza can feed a family of 4.
Okay. Pretty good. All right. Well, we're going to call it a night. Big thanks again, Tim. I appreciate you being on here. We've had a great time. A ton of information has been gone out. And I would suggest, if you haven't liked or subscribed him, to go over there and subscribe to his channel and watch some of his videos. I've been I don't watch every one of them, and I'll be the first one to admit it, but I've been going back through a few of them and been watching them and trying to learn some stuff. I'm just looking over here in the chat, but watching them and trying to learn from them. And you'll learn a ton of information. Trust me, he does very, very good. I like the quality and the type of your videos. You do very good. And I wish we could have had Vance out here just for a little while tonight, but I understand he had to go to bed or be in bed at this time.
Yeah. Guys, I would also, if you haven't listened to that Reclaimed Audio podcast, there's like 3 totally different personalities on this thing.
Oh yeah,
and they come at the maker community from 3 different directions. And if you haven't listened to it, you're really missing out. So you should really go and subscribe to it and at least try to listen to a few of them.
I gotta agree. I think that's the success of it is as 3 different angles, 3 different levels of ability, and 3 different otter styles all coming together and throwing a topic in there. It's great.
I've already told Lutz that I really enjoy the podcast, and I'm gonna tell you as well. But tell me the truth. Lutz is really the Curly to y'all's Larry and Moe, right? Don't he bring the comic relief? He's the comic relief, right? He's got to be. He's good. I love the whole show. The whole premise is fine, but Lutz has got to be the comic relief.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
What can I say, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that all 3 of us have some pretty good jokes, but that's definitely, that's definitely his, like but what makes it so great is that he does that and he ribs us and he jabs at us, and all of a sudden he comes out and he says this like completely like intelligent, like meaningful thing.
Yeah,
and it
exactly.
comes and it's like you've been faking the whole time.
And he comes at it from a whole other angle.
Yeah.
He's like the only other guy you can get a kiss from and not feel weird about it.
Yeah,
and I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Exactly.
The one that when I met him in Atlanta a couple of years ago, somebody had put a video up of Izzy Swan kissing Bill Lutz, and Bill Lutz had this shocked look on his face with his smile, and I captured that picture and I carved that and I sent it to Bill. And Izzy saw that and he said, "My God, that's awesome." And I never made another one. That's one of those one-offs.
That's awesome.
The fun ones.
There you go.
One of the fun ones, definitely.
Oh yeah.
All right, guys, we're cutting out of here. Thank you, Brenda, Chris, Jim, Katie, Al, Russ, and most of all, thank you, Tim, for being on here tonight. I appreciate it very much.
Thanks again for having me. Everybody be good.
No problem. We only got one thing left to do, and that is for me to sing us out. So here it goes. Just give me sawdust, lots of sawdust, all around me and everywhere. I like it flying all around my shop and even in my beard and hair. Good night, everybody.
Night, Joe.
Thank you for watching. And
good night, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Good night.
Remember, you don't have to go home, but you cannot stay here. All right, and go Pats.